Executive Director from AFoCO to give his welcome remarks for this side event. Mr. Calderon, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Blazer. Greetings from the AFoCO Secretariat and welcome to this side event. Improvement on the Global Forest Goal implementation, streamlining forest-related reporting and developing methodology for measuring performance. The UN General Assembly adopted the United Nations Strategic Plan on Forests 2017-2030 at the 13th session. The forum adopted the format for voluntary reporting and invited member states to submit their voluntary national report by mid-November 2019. The reporting format was piloted in 16 countries with the assistance of the UNFF Secretariat in 2017. The format is structured around the global forest goals and target of the United Nations Strategic Plan on Forests 2017-2030 and builds on the format previously used for the reporting to the forum on its 11th session. National reports from member states are one of the main sources of information to assess the progress towards the achievement of the global forest goals and target. However, as observed, there were some challenges in the submission of the voluntary national report among the member parties of the UNFF. Looking back as far as the submission of the voluntary reports, the submission somehow increased in number, but in the last 2020 there were only 52 submissions. At the regional level, among 13 AFoCO member parties, only 4 members submitted their voluntary national report. But AFoCO viewed the submission of the voluntary report as very important to track the progress and achievement of the strategic plan and its contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals. Hence, this side event with the National Institute of Forest Science of Korea after the 16th session of the forum. Lastly, at this point, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to the UNFF Secretariat for the opportunity to organize this side event. I would like also to thank Dr. Blazer and all the panel speakers from the UNFF, FAO, representative from Australia, Indonesia, and Thailand. Last but not the least, of course, our partner, the National Institute of Forest Science of Korea. And thank you and we're looking forward to a substantive discussion. Dr. Blazer?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Calderon. Thank you for your welcoming remarks and already to go into the topic that we will talk about in the next hour. May I now invite Dr. Park Chang for congratulation remarks. Dr. Park Chang is the President of the National Institute of Forest Science of the Republic of Korea.
Good morning and somewhere good afternoon. Today, I'm so pleased to host a side event under the theme of Improvement on Global Forest Goals, GFGs implementation with AFoCO at the 16th UN Forum on Forest, UNFF. Particularly, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Mr. Ricardo Calderon, the Executive Director at AFoCO, Mr. Thomas Jaszczyk, Forest Affairs Officer of UNFF Secretariat, Mr. Anssi Pekkarinen, Team Leader on FRA of FAO, Mr. Jesse Mahoney, Director of Australia, Mr. Sapol Bunsomsok from Thailand, Mr. Rinaldi Imanuddin of Indonesia, and finally to Dr. Jürgen Blazer, who has offered as the moderator of today's event. The Republic of Korea has consistently participated in the UNFF by contributing to achieving SDGs, which are the pan-global commitments have and have promoted international forest cooperation among member countries of the UN. When the UN Strategic Plan on Forest, UNSPF, was adopted, I participated in the meeting to let UNFF actively play a role as the platform of the forestry sector in the international community. Thereby, I would underscore that I am delighted to host the side event with AFoCO at the UNFF. Only this time we should proceed with it in unpacked form because of the pandemic situation. However, one of the results of deforestation is an increased number of contacts between wildlife and human. Before industrialization, forests have covered around 5.9 billion hectares, and now we only have around 4 billion hectares left, meaning that 1/3 of the forests have been diminished. Of deforestation, various global environmental issues such as climate change, desertification, and diminishing biodiversity are becoming more critical. But we all know that our forest has a bold resilience. For that reason, we should positively utilize it based on the nature-based solutions, NBS, as an active answer in response to the environmental problems, which is a threat to the survival of humanity. It is also a crucial solution for the sustainable coexistence of the global ecosystem, including humanity. With 10 years to left until 2030 to accomplish UNSPF, we need to review current status and prepare strategy to strengthen the linkage between SDGs and GFGs and implement them more effectively. From this perspective, this event has more meaning in sharing the progress and experience of each country based on voluntary national review, VNR. We expect extensive interest from people worldwide, including the member countries of UNFF, to create healthier life and sustainable future focusing on forest and forestry. In that sense, the National Institute of Forest Science, NIFoS, intends to elaborate various efforts to promote discussions on multiple agendas of UNFF by holding such side events and hosting informal conferences. I'd like to ask for a ceaseless interest and active participation of all parties and delegations from all over the world who are present here today. Before closing my remarks, I'd like to thank everyone again for participating in today's side event, and I hope that COVID-19 to end as soon as possible so that we can meet and converse in person at the next 17th UNFF. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Park Jong. I understand that he was by video, so please commit our gratitude for his very interesting congratulation remarks, which were also beyond just congratulation, which was already a very nice assessment of an overall situation in which this reporting is being done. Before we turn now to the first technical presentations, let me just tell you that there is the possibility, of course, to interact with the panel members and also the organizers of this side event through chat. So you can use the chat. If you have the time, we will look at them. If not, there will be answers given after this session. So please use the chat as an instrument if you want to communicate with us. So the next block would be a block of about half an hour with, I do think, very interesting and substantive contributions from Korea. The first one will be given by Mr. Jin Sun-pil, the Vice Director of AFoCO. And he will give us an overview and an assessment of progress of AFoCO countries in respect to the preparation of their reporting and the implementation of the United Nations Strategic Plan for Forests, and share the first experiences that AFoCO with his member countries had in the preparation of these reports. Mr. John Sun-pil, I give you the floor, please.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Jin Sun-pil, Vice Executive Director of AFoCO. It is my great pleasure to speak at this side event. Today, I'm going to present on our assessment on progress of AFoCO countries in implementing the UN Strategic Plan for Forests and their contributions to the attainment of global forest goals. Based on this assessment, findings and observations that we developed through this exercise, I will suggest the potential roles of AFoCO as a partner organization to the UNFF to contribute to the implementation of the UNSPF and achievement of GFGs by 2030. AFoCO is a treaty-based intergovernmental organization with 13 party members and 2 observers in Asia. AFoCO has been recently granted observer status of the UN General Assembly in 2020, which provides us a firm base to join approach to and be aligned with the global effort toward sustainable development. AFoCO envisions a greener Asia with resilient forests, landscapes, and communities. And we aim to realize this vision by strengthening cooperation in the forest sector and promotion action-oriented practices of SFN through policy support, capacity development, and inclusive partnerships to address the adverse impacts of climate change. With this vision and mission, AFoCO under its strategic plan has been working with its member countries to contribute to the achievement of global goal of increasing forest cover up to 3% worldwide. Implementation of Paris Agreement by galvanizing forest-based mitigation adaptation actions and improving forest-based livelihood and income. You may find our strategic plan is very much aligned to the global forest goals of the UNSPF. All key actions to achieve GFG number 1 and 2 and cross-cutting goals GFG number 4 to 6 have been captured in our 5 priority areas of the strategic plan. And this explains why the progress of AFoCO countries in the UNFF implementation matters to us and become our primary motivation to join efforts in the development of the monitoring and reporting system on such progresses. This slide shows a graphic illustration of the extent to which AFoCO members countries account for in terms of state number and forest area. Certain party members and 2 observers of AFoCO, which constitute 1/3 of state in Asia and 6% of the all countries and territories around the world, possess total 250 million hectares, which account for 35% of forest in Asia and 5% of the world forest. And this is where my presentation and our assessment will focus on. In order to assess the progress of the AFoCO member countries in the UNFF implementation, we took 2 different steps in reference to the methodology taken by the UNFF Secretariat in its preparation of the flagship publication. First, we looked into voluntary national reports submitted by the member states. We summarized the significant efforts or advancement achieved relevant to each global forest goal. Then we drew some trends and commonly shared developments or challenges across the report from the AFoCO countries. However, out of 30 party members and 2 observers of AFoCO, only 4 countries submitted its voluntary national report, which was not sufficient to draw comprehensive assessment on overall progress of all AFoCO countries. So in step 2, we utilized some of the well-defined global core set of forest-related indicators and publicly accessible databases such as Global FRA and NDC registry to complement the assessment in step 1. First, let me walk you through the key observations and findings that we have taken up from voluntary national reports of 4 AFoCO countries: South Korea, Myanmar, Philippines, and Thailand, and voluntary national contributions made by 2, Indonesia and Thailand. In achieving global forest goal number 1, to reverse the forest loss, all reporting countries indicate their effort in enhancing their legal framework to increase forest area and provision of forest ecosystem service, and in integrated forest restoration targets into national level development or climate strategy. Policy actions to enhance forest carbon sink was most notable among others. Aside from the legislative actions, most countries made progress in adopting advanced technologies in forest resources monitoring and increasing flow of funding secured for SFM from various sources. Goal number 2 of enhancing forest-based economic, social, and environmental benefit. Legislative policy, institutional actions relevant to community forestry development has been commonly reported a means for enhancing socio-economic benefits of forests and strengthening ecosystem service. Furthermore, job creation has been significantly recognized in multiple major programs, including National Forest Rehabilitation Program, Community Forestry, and Economic Forest Plantation Project. Technical and financial support for forest production and trade sub-sector were also highlighted in light of sustainable forest production and economic activities. The most common and obvious manifestation of progress in goal number 3 to increase the area of protected forests and other areas sustainably managed forests were increasing areas newly registered as protected area, and again increasing areas designated or declared for conservation purpose with strong support from the legislative framework established. Also, most countries have launched its actions to enhance timber legality and institutionalize the forest certification system. An interesting observation was in the coverage of the report on national biodiversity conservation schemes. Half of the reporting countries could include in their reporting the efforts made by all relevant ministries, while the others could only cover the actions of the Forest Department. Regarding goal number 4, to mobilize significantly increased financial resources and strengthen scientific and technical cooperation, we could observe that the funding for the implementation of SFM was increased in all 4 reporting countries, and most reporting countries have established financial strategies to achieve SFM and implement UN Forest instrument. By reading across countries which take a different position in development financing, we were hinted that ODA flows to forest sector can be one of the important indicators to be monitored against the goal number 4. As shown in the report of the Republic of Korea, which highlighted its effort of increasing budget allocation to forest-based international cooperation activities, it may be useful if a new reporting format could provide the differentiated set of questions for donor countries to highlight their annual contribution to international partners. In terms of partnership, all 4 reporting countries have been actively engaged in international cooperation, mainly with governmental or intergovernmental partners through North-South or technical and financial cooperation. Yet limited number for countries pursued South-South and triangular cooperation. Goal number 5 is about promoting governance framework for SFM, and all reporting countries have made clear progresses in integrating forest in either national development plan and or poverty reduction strategy, and promoting cross-sectoral coordination mechanisms among government agencies in SFM planning and implementation. While in a certain country, the forest sector is not observed to be fully involved in other land use planning. And most countries have identified and established mechanisms to engage multiple stakeholders in SFM planning and implementation, but with varying level and depth. Furthermore, to support legal timber trade, all reporting countries have initiated and taken various measures, most commonly managed through legal enforcement, import-export control. Goal number 6 on enhancing cooperation, coordination, and coherence for SFM is where reporting countries had the most bearing appreciation, and most countries have not set their contribution to this goal. International reporting criteria and indicator for SFM and communication and outreach activities have been discussed with significance. All reporting countries responded that CNI for SFM has been developed to generate information for national report, monitor forest state, review forest policy and tools, and respond to the reporting requirement of international organization. But only half of the reporting countries responded that they are using them for the communication and awareness raising purposes. Most countries reported that they have been actively reaching out to the public and major groups and generating greater awareness on SFM. But the reports could only provide limited information about mechanisms established in each country to enhance coordination among international partners. It may be useful to include relevant questions in the next reporting format to read and capture such effort in support of goal number 6. This slide summarizes the challenges reported by the AFoCO countries in achieving GFGs number 1 to 4. While weak governance has been pointed out across all goals as cross-cutting issue, I would like to highlight some of the most commonly shared challenges by each goal. In achieving goal number 1, demographic and developmental pressure on forest lands and conflict in land use, and weak coordination among relevant agencies and stakeholders were pointed out as the challenging issues. These resonate with the difficulties referred In goal number 3, limited human resources and institutional capacities in implementing the relevant policies, and insufficient coherence between relevant policies and legislation across sectors. In other words, it is related to a dilemma of striking a balance between development and conservation. In achieving goal number 2, limited value addition and profitability of forest product, and limited access to market and financial opportunities for local forest communities and forest smallholders were found to be common factors that hinder promoting socio-economic benefits that forest can provide to the society. In goal number 4, 2 aspects of capacity issue were raised in terms of increasing financing difficulties in earning buy-in of donors or private investors in forest-based activities, and limited experience and capacities in marketing and financing forest-based activities. So, review of the National Voluntary Report, as introduced by FA, provide a rich context information about the progress toward GFGs. We found that the quantitative indicators and data can provide more comprehensive analysis to identify the gaps and opportunities in implementing the UNFF. Using database Global FRA 2020 and review of the indices registered at the UNFCCC, we conducted an exercise in visualizing the progress in 5 selected GFG targets. So this analysis should be complemented by more rigorous review and analysis. It gives us a certain level of baseline in designing cooperation programs with our member countries. We appreciate that the CPF has been leading efforts in developing a core set of indicators for forest-related goals in this line of thinking. And we strongly support this initiative and hope to explore potential contributions that AFoCO can make to advance the progress. In conclusion, appreciating that the UN Strategy for Forest is a global framework that guided all levels of action for promoting SFM, and well-established the monitoring and reporting mechanism on the progress towards the GFGs can greatly contribute to accelerating the attainment of GFGs and other forest-related global goals. I would like to suggest the following 6 potential roles of AFoCO can play in implementing the UNFF. First, AFoCO can facilitate the enhanced reporting, including the submission of voluntary report of member parties through the annual thematic dialogue of the Assembly, by including progress review of relevant GFGs and targets in member parties as an annual subject of discussion. Second, AFoCO will continue supporting national implementation of UNFF through AFoCO regional programs and country projects that will also serve as platforms for exchange of expertise and technical cooperation among member parties and partners. Third, AFoCO will elevate its effort of enhancing forest governance through improved capacities of forest institutions and developing technical skills of frontline forest practitioners and policymakers through our capacity development program and through the regional education and training center. Fourth, AFoCO will facilitate access of member parties to diverse sources of funding and help equip themselves with enhanced skill and capacities in communication, networking, and fund mobilization. Fifth, AFoCO will keep on enhancing cross-sectoral coordination across the landscape and beyond the forest sector. We believe newly developed landscape partnership for Asia will initiate such cross-sectoral cooperation model in restoring dry lands and drought-prone area of Asia. And finally, but not least, we will increase cooperation and coordination with regional and international entities to avoid duplication and generate synergies. With this, I would like to wrap up my presentation. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you also, Mr. Jin Sun-pil, for your excellent presentation and analysis of the 4 countries. And in particular, your last, I think your last slide that summarized very well, the potential role that AFoCO as a regional platform can take to support the countries and to support the implementation of the UNSPF. I think this is a very important message. And hopefully in future, there will be more reports coming in from the AFoCO members. I think that will be, of course, also an overall aim. But great to have your presentation. I will have to rush a bit because we are already running late. We organized this in a Korean-Swiss timing package, but we are far behind already. So sorry. So I go right over to the next presentation, which will be given by Dr. On-ho Shi from the Korean Forest Research Institute. And she will present us the voluntary national reporting of the Republic of Korea. That is very interesting also from its particular approach using quantitative indicators. So the floor is yours, please, Ms. Joy. About 15 minutes, and if this is possible.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Blazer. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all my colleagues. My name is Eun-ho Choi. I'm working at NIFoS, National Institute of Forest Science, and the title is Presentation on the VNR by Republic of Korea and Suggestion for Further Improvement. Actually, I'm so glad to have a presentation today, and I attended UNFF since 2006. 2016. So I know the whole process of developing UNSPF and GFGs. So I think we did a great job and made a huge step. So yeah, and last year, more than 50 countries submitted VNL voluntary national report, and last Monday, based on VNL and VNCs, the first evaluation report published and revealed. So congratulate all members, countries, and UNFF Secretariat. And Korea also submit the voluntary national report in 2019. And after then, we would like to share the effort and implementation performance relating to forest sector. So NIFoS published VNL in English and Korean version. And this part, I would like to introduce the contents of VNL of Korea. So first one is legislative and policy actions are focusing on target 1.2, maintain carbon stock, and 1.3 SFM. In case of target 1.2, Korea recently formulated and implemented the second comprehensive plan for improvement of carbon sink. In case of target 1.3, the mid to long-term implementation plan for lead plus in developing countries is to contribute to NDC. So Korea has experience with lead plus project with 4 countries. So by using lead plus project model in the worldwide, we can support target 1.1, increasing forest area 3% worldwide. And institutional action, I would like to introduce 2 actions. So first one is the forest carbon offset scheme is designed to increase the forest carbon credit through various carbon sink projects, including creation and management of forest and vegetation recovery. Through these projects, the estimated annual forest carbon credit cumulative increased significantly over the year. And second one is the KFCC, Korean Forest Certification Council, adopted in 2015 and implemented. So as of 2018, a total forest land has been certified for forest management under the KFCC. And Global Forest Goal 3.1, we have law and policy action. So first one is formulation of the second national protection plan on Mountain Baekdu-daegan. And second one is ecological rehabilitation project for damaged and disconnected forest. Under this kind of policy and law, we can enhance the ecological health of the key ecological corridor of the Korean Peninsula. And this part, I would like to introduce the successful story of Korea. The first question was, what is progress toward criteria and indicators? So I would like to introduce Korean SDGs. So KSDGs were developed in consideration of domestic needs, reflecting the Korean situation and the urgency of implementation. So it has 17 goals and 169 targets. So as the SDGs aim to end by 2030, which means that we have only left 10 years from now. So the most important part we have to consider how to monitor its implementation level and how efficiently contribute to it. So the goal 15 is consists of 8 targets and 13 indicators, various activity to contribute to the achievement of GFGs, and are also included in KSDGs. Efforts are being made to increase the link between GFGs, SDGs, KSDGs, and other global agreements. So we set the goals and baseline, then evaluate the anticipate whether we could achieve the goal or not. So the left side of the graph, 15.1, the second indicator, it is not easy to be attained. So we will focus on achieving this goal next 10 years. Through the Korean case, setting the goals of GFGs will be important mean of implementation to each country. Second success story is Baekdudaegan Global Seed Board. It is included the Global Forest Goals Report 2021. So the Republic of Korea established a seed board to protect and store over 2 million species by 2030. The Baekdudaegan Global Seed Board will help the country fulfill international cooperation obligation, such as CBD and its Nagoya Protocol. And third part is assessing approach on UNFF GFGs. We have several questions while we were preparing VNL of Republic of Korea and looking at the other countries. Question number 1 is VNL contributing to achieving GFGs. It is sharing good practice and lesson with others. But however, it seems that there is a limitation to assess if they affect GFGs positively or negatively. Although various activities are shown in VNL, if the effectiveness of global good practice for GFGs is found, it would be extended to other countries very easily. Question 2 is FAO Global Course that enables to assess the fulfillment of GFGs, but it is still considered that countries' effort for GFGs could be broadened when it is found which actively and how much it contributes to the goal. The country and region-specific SDGs are being assessed through SDR annually. It seems that submitting VNL is similarly expecting to broaden effort of each country for GFGs. Question 3 is more specifically those which are submitting VNC have declared their effort to achieve GFGs. Therefore, it is expected that other countries can follow them. If the countries with VNC can show how and how much they have contributed. Last question is, it may because quantitative national reporting for the assessment of GFGs burden countries. At this point, it seems the existing quantitative national report, SDGs, UNFCCC, CBD, and so on, may enable to assess the fulfillment of GFGs with TACC and less burden. According to question number 4, I will explain more details. We submit these national reports such as UNFCCC SDGs, UNCCD, CBD, and Montreal process. As we well know that some key indicators are reported commonly, for example, forest area, carbon stocks, lead list, and so on. And these indicators also require to reporting on GFGs indicators, as you see the left box. That means that the party just report the same statistics and contents for the common indicators. It doesn't need to any additional effort to measurement and report for the indicator. And this slide showing is showing the Korean case. For example, GFG 1.1 is quite relating to national report indicators such as SDG 15.12, UNFCCC, and UNCCD SO 1-1. And so we set the base and goal, and last year we evaluate the implementation. We could find out that we minus 0.4%. It we would find reverse in. Just like that, we can evaluate the progress or reverse each indicator. We can make a plan to achieve the goals, how much effort we need for a specific indicator. So this kind of process is useful to each country. And last part is suggestion by Republic of Korea. We would like to suggest informal dialogue on GFGs for facilitate GFGs implementation. The objective of this informal dialogue is development and improvement approach on the GFGs implementation and assessment by the party. So we are planning that working period is from 2021 to 2024, and output will be just like that. So if anyone interested is welcome to participate. So just to feel free to email this address. Thank you.
So I thank Ms. Joy for this excellent presentation, especially the last couple of slides that show, this comparative analysis on the different reporting elements on quantitative data. I think this is something that could also go as a question directly to the panelists, especially to UNFF and to FAO, afterwards, to see what do they think about this approach. And I guess that all these slides will also be made available to the participants because they are very rich and there's a lot of information that I think the countries would like to see a little bit closer. So thank you very much. I would like to turn to the panel discussion. That means the short presentations that each panel member will make. So I would like to invite first the two CPF members, UNFF Secretariat and FAO, maybe to do their presentations one after the other without any interruption, if that's possible, to save some time, and then we can still open maybe the floor if there's a question. So I would like to ask first Mr. Thomas Juszczak, the Forest Affairs Officer within the UNFF Secretariat, to give his short introduction to the topic and to the discussion, and then right after Thomas, you give the floor to Anssi Pekkarinen, the team leader of the Forest Resource Assessment within FAO. So then we have saved some time on the bridge. So please, Thomas, the floor is yours.
Okay, so well, first of all, thank you to the organizers for having this meeting, for acting so fast on the flagship publication. I appreciate the speed. Just right now, the previous speaker, I saw already the cover of the report, which has been, as you know, launched just on Monday. And we just had literally half an hour ago discussion, and the recommendations for most member states is to use it, disseminate it, to any other stakeholders and audience beyond the traditional UNFF crowd. So thank you for that. I was asked actually to say a few words about the publication and the key findings, and so in a way, again, like I will, since I apologize for kind of few overlaps and repetitions, since we are a very tiny secretariat. I was the member of the secretariat that was involved in the preparation of the report, but also we of course are in the middle of the session, so we have extremely limited resources. But what I would say is that indeed the flagship publication is, as our moderator mentioned, in the history of UNFF, is the first this kind of publication. We have never done it before, and I would like to also say that it is an important development, and I think that it's an important development in the sense that for the first time we actually, personally, I feel we are able to give enough justice and countries that done the work, submitted the reports, and as you know, in the previous sessions, all this information from country reports were usually summarized in the note by Secretariat, which some of you might know has a very strict word limitation, is 8,500 words. So of course we were not able to reflect the wealth of information that is submitted to us. So with that, I hope that the flagship, we don't know yet whether this is going to be a recurrent publication or not, but I think it's a good start. It's a base. It provides good basis for possible future assessments. We do have we have a specific time frame for the UNSPF for the global forest goals. We have the midterm review, and we have 2030 is of course the deadline for the goals. So I assume that we will have two reporting cycles. Whether we're going to have two additional flagship reports is yet to be seen. With that, I also wanted to, since this discussion is mostly linked to the monitoring, assessment, and reporting, I also would like to reiterate few aspects that was discussed this morning. We realize that we sort of operate in two communities. Of course, the UNSPF been heavily negotiated under the UNFF, and although it is a UN strategic plan, of course, it's not UNFF. So all the it's not only the UNFF Secretariat, UNFF Forum as such, but all the UN agencies are supposed to be the parties implementing the plan. But I also realize, and it's quite often when we have these international commitments, we come up with those goals and targets of a global scope, and they're very aspirational and ambitious. And that's one thing. And another thing is then when we come to the reality of tracking the progress and measuring the progress towards achieving those goals. So on one hand, we operate with the policymakers, and we are very glad, and I believe personally it's a good strategic plan, and those goals and targets are there. But then the reality for us and for member states actually to report towards achieving progress, it's another story. And it's not in, and I think with this report, as I mentioned before, I think it's we prove that it's feasible. It is definitely doable. I think with the national reports, with the cooperation with FAO, but it's not an easy task. And I had actually a slide in my slides. I prepare basically a short picture of. You might have realized that the report comes in two versions. One is the bigger book, which I believe is a little bit over 100 pages long. But we also have shorter versions for policymakers. We're actually advised to produce a very short, concise publication. So the short version has a table and that shows the progress under each goal and target. And it's a very sort of simplistic way showing, where we are on track and or not, or just basically there are some actions taken, or it is impossible, inconclusive yet to say where we are in regards to that goal. And this table shows basically what I was referring to earlier, that, you know, majority of the targets are of qualitative nature and they are not easy to measure, and there is indeed uncharted territory, and we have to we make, to the extent possible, I believe, we make use of the global core set of indicators. We think those are useful, and of course FAO provides vast majority of data for those biophysical data for those indicators. However, we do have still few gaps, and those refer to socioeconomics, of course, the financing for not necessarily for both, actually. Well, the goal is we're talking about financing for SFM, but of course there are a number of complications related to that, the financial flow. Financing for forest sector as such doesn't mean necessary financing for SFM. So under the global for goal, we also have some issues related to definition, terminology, methodologies. But also, I think earlier in the morning, I showed that, you know, the availability of data is an issue for GFG2 and for socioeconomics, finance. But also, if we look at the GFG1, we have the element of degradation, which again, as a long old friend, lots of work been put into it, but still, there is no commonly agreed definition on the degradation. Another target, I believe, it's target 1.4 that you know refers to the adaptive resilience and adaptive capacity of forest to climate change. Again, there is no really systematic way or a green way of measuring that target. So that those challenges in terms of data and are there, and we want to, you know, somehow in upcoming year resolve it. I mentioned that we will most likely towards the end of the year have an expert meeting that would help us to revise the reporting format and listen, basically digest the lessons learned from that report. It's the first report. We will be looking for feedback and also, you know, how make the reporting to member state easier. And with, I also appreciate very much the two previous speakers. And I don't know if this time or the question will be maybe asked later about the possible role of AFoCO and other regional organizations in that regard. So I know we're late, so I stop here for the time being. Thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you, Thomas. Can I give the floor directly to Ansi, please? Thank you.
Did I remember to unmute my microphone?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, actually, everyone, and many thanks for the opportunity to join this panel. My name is Anssi Pekkarinen, as you heard, and I'm coordination of the Global Forest Resources Assessment at the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. My short intervention today will start with a brief recap on FRA, what it is, and then end with some observations on the great presentations that we saw before. Well, what is FRA then? Just briefly, it is a process of collection, review, validation, and analysis of official statistical data on forest resources, their management and uses. FRA covers all the 236 countries and territories of the world, and the latest assessment published last year collected data on over 60 variable categories for the period from 1990 to 2020. These data are collected through, again, a global network of officially nominated national correspondents that covers currently 187 countries and territories and 99.5% of the global forest area. And I'm happy to report that the 15 member countries of the Asian Forest Cooperation Organization participated actively in this process, and many thanks to all of you for your contributions. The results of the latest assessment were published in a number of products. They include key findings, main report, individual country reports, and an open access platform that contains all the data and metadata reported to the process by the countries and territories. These data and results are available to anyone, and they were also the basis for the quantitative analysis presented in the Global Forest Goal Report 2021. In such a way, our close collaboration with UNFF Secretariat helped to reduce the reporting burden of countries and the duplication of the work carried out by the UNFF and FRA secretariats. And I'm happy to tell you that since Monday this week, these key outputs are available in all 6 UN languages. Well, then when we look at the process, look at the collaboration and the role of this process in the context of the other reporting, FRA is responsible also for collecting the data and global and regional reporting on 2 SDG indicators, 15.1.1, which is forest area as a proportion of total land area, and 15.2.1, which is progress towards sustainable forest management. In addition, the FRA 2020 collected data on 15 out of the 21 indicators of the global core set using commonly agreed definitions. And I was happy to hear that these indicators have been actually already used in the analysis presented by Mr. Jin-Sung Pil. Now, what comes to the presentation of, or the previous presentation, it is great to see the progress the reporting countries have made in a number of areas. In the creation of forest restoration targets in national strategies, as well as policy actions to enhance the carbon sinks are both important signals of the progress. The efforts to adapt the new technologies for forest monitoring are also important, as they may allow more frequent reporting on some of the key indicators in the future. I'm also really happy to see the progress in recognizing the impact of the forest sector on job creation and integration of forests in the national development plans and poverty reduction strategies. Many of the listed activities in one of the last slides in Mr. Sunpil's presentation for potential roles of the Asian Forest Cooperation Organization are important not only for the implementation of the UN Strategic Plan for Forests, but also for a number of other important processes. Enhancing the experiences among the countries, exchanging the experiences among the countries, supporting the development of data generation and reporting capacities, and collaboration with regional and international entities and processes are still important contributors towards more accurate, consistent, and timely reporting on progress towards the global forest goals, nationally determined contributions of the Paris Agreement, and the forthcoming post-2020 biodiversity network in addition to the sustainable development goals. These activities also have great synergies with and are well aligned with our plans at the FAO, because we, in close collaboration with the members of the Collaborative Partnership on Forests, will continue to further develop the global core set to operationalize the remaining Tier 2 and Tier 3 indicators. The member countries have also requested FAO to further develop reporting on forest characteristics, and we are actually at the moment in a process of organizing an expert workshop on reporting on primary forests for the region. We will also analyze if and how reporting on restoration-related indicators to future FRAs can streamline reporting for countries between multiple restoration initiatives. And finally, are starting the development of a more flexible reporting process for FRA, which would allow more frequent voluntary updates of the key indicators. So this is all well aligned with the proposal that you had, and congratulations again for the good progress made, and many thanks for your continued support to the FRA process. I will stop here because I know that we are short of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Anssi. Thank you for your comprehensive overview on the FRA and how the FRA links to these other processes. And it's very important process, the FRA, since 60 years. So I think everybody recognizes this. Let me turn to the national reporting, and let me go straight to Jesse Mahoney from Australia. He's the Director of International Forest Policy within Water and Environment of Australia. Jesse, I know we are a little bit late, and so I just give you in a flying way the floor. Is it correct? Is that okay for you?
Yes, that's perfect, Jürgen. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I will speed through this in possibly 2 minutes, I hope. I just wanted to quickly say thank you very much to AFoCO for putting on this event, and for all of the high quality presentations that have come before mine. So I was asked to touch on 2 questions very quickly. The first being what our experience was with our national reporting, and then the second was the view on harmonisation of reporting internationally. So just really quickly on this slide, we have a long-term record of reporting on our forests. We use the Montreal Process Framework like Korea does, and this really underpins all of our forest reporting to collect once, use many times. So we hope to plug and play that into basically everything we do, including the FAO FRA. In terms of our voluntary national report, it was all condensed over I guess that's a 3 to 4 month timeline, a lot of consultation with external subnational governments and private sector to really pull together the things that weren't covered in our FRA reporting, basically, to make sure we capped it off for the VNR. So in terms of our first impressions of that reporting period, it was a new, novel and challenging approach. Overall, it was quite a positive experience though, because it really gave us an opportunity to take stock of our policies and programs at that point in time that supported the global forest goals. It was the first, there'd been previous UNFF reporting cycles, but they weren't of this nature. And that's probably where there was a bit of a challenge for us, because past UNFF reporting, it was quite easy for policy officers in my team to do that work. And we carried it through in this reporting process. But in conclusion, we, I guess, probably should have shifted it to our national correspondents for FRA, because there was a lot of analytical work to be done there. In terms of how we worked with the report itself, there was a lot of layers to distill because the global forest goals touch on SDGs, Aichi targets, and then the new novel targets that we're looking at with the GFGs. So there was a lot to work with there, and unfortunately that led to a fair bit of repetition in the reporting template, but that's somewhat understandable in a very new process. So I think that's an opportunity for us to step back and see where that happened, and then make sure that we're supporting the UNFF in revising that process and making it better. Because at the end of the day, this reporting produced a wonderful publication of the flagship publication, the Global Forest Goals Report 2021. So it's something that we're very supportive of and committed to maintaining. Then just lastly, to keep to time, in terms of harmonisation, that bottom line there, collect once, use many times, is really at the heart of everything that we'd like to do with our forest monitoring and reporting. And it was really good to see that this national reporting could capture a lot of what we were already putting in the FRA. So that was really good. I guess the big frontier ahead and is currently being done and is that the global core set of forest related indicators to provide that support for international processes that are looking to report on forests, but they don't care about forests in their completeness. So UNFF is obviously keen to use the FRA because we're all familiar with forests, but UNCBD, UNFCCC, they take in forests in bite-sized components. So having that core set is a really good means in which to identify what we've already got data for and perhaps expand it a little bit to capture some of those challenging indicators, such as the socioeconomic ones, but give them something that they can pick up and put straight into their process. So we're all for it. It's just how we deliver it over the long term. I had a lot more to say and I can share my slides, but I'll end it there. So thank you, Jürgen.
Yeah, Frank, thank you very much, Jesse, for your very concise presentation. I guess that your PowerPoint will also be on disposal afterwards. So I think this was very good, and it brings, of course, a lot of questions and a lot of issues up for international reporting on forests. I think the importance of this process to have a stewardship somehow for forests, also for this reporting, I think this is an important element that should not be forgotten. Mr. Rinaldi Imanuddin, are you with us? I'm not sure. I haven't seen you before from Indonesia. Yes. Okay, great. So Rinaldi is senior scientist at the Forestry and Environment Research Development and Innovation Agency in Indonesia. So please, The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Jogan. First of all, I would like to inform about my president's statement in high-level conference of climate change that Indonesia is very serious in controlling climate change and invites the world to take concrete actions. And the second one, we must advance green development for a better world. And the last one, in order to achieve the target of the Paris Agreement and the next common agenda, global partnership must be intensified. So our president's statement is very in line with this side event. So I would like to present about the role of forest on climate change in Indonesia. The first one, that forests play a key role in regulating the global climate, most importantly through capturing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, storing in biomass and forest soil. And the second one is the largest storehouse of carbon after the ocean. Forests have the potential to absorb and store about 1/10 of the global anthropogenic carbon emission projected for the first half of this century into their biomass, soil, and product. So, what kind of Indonesia contribution? We talk about the forest area. We have the more than 100 million hectares of forest and designed as the forest area. So, in terms climate change, as part of global effort, the Indonesian government is committed to do its part under the Paris Agreement and show progress in the implementation of its NDC, including aspect of both mitigation and adaptation. So Indonesia has committed to reducing emission of 29% to its own effort and up to 41% depending on different levels of international cooperation. I want to show about the data. Let's say this is a trend deforestation in Indonesia from 1990 to 2019. So it seems like that there are the significant decreasing for forest deforestation. I mean for deforestation in Indonesia. So what kind of the monitoring that happened in Indonesia? The monitoring of forest resources was conducted periodically at 3 years intervals between 2000 and 2009. With advance in remote sensing technology since 2011, the monitoring of forest resources has been conducted on yearly basis. The thematic geospatial information system of our forestry, which is fully integrated with the National Geospatial Information Network, is intended to facilitate the implementation of Indonesia One policy. So some policies already built that which is the moratorium on the utilization of primary natural forest and peatland is an extremely significant policy formulated by the Indonesian government. And the second one, the Indonesian government is equipped with a number of legal instruments to address the issues, like legal lodging, forest and land fire, etc. And the take corrective action aimed to improve the forest ecosystem as a whole, improving the quality of forest cover and ecosystem to support human life. So in this supporting system, that Indonesia has developed the national forest monitoring system, and the national forest monitoring system has support the national MRV system for climate change, adaptation and mitigation, and all part of commitment to promote information transparency. So, and Indonesia also have the system we call the Indonesian National Carbon Accounting System, is an innovation providing information on carbon emission at the subnational level province. So, what kind of achievement already achieved in Indonesia? the first national forest reference emission level was submitted of the UNFFCCC in 2016 with a validity period of 2013 to 2020. In early 2020, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry began to compile the second national FRL and plans to submit it to the UNFFCCC for the period of 2021 and 2030. And for the sector, forestry and emission from the forestry sector and peatland, for the period from 2000 to 2018, the average annual level of emissions stood at more than 400 million tons CO2 per year. And based on greenhouse gases effect of 2018, forestry sector greenhouse gas emission amount more than 700 million tons. So while the baseline NDC, the forestry sector for 2018 was 791 million ton CO2 equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
So the achievement.
Rinaldi, may I just interrupt you? I see that you have a very detailed presentation on very interesting stuff, on very interesting information. Can you try, because we are late, can you try just to give us a hint on the most important elements, because we will have hopefully the PowerPoint afterwards available to look into the details. Is that possible? Because I fear that we will lose people and we still have Thailand to make a presentation. Sorry.
I see. What I want to say, the last sentence. Sorry, Dr. Jujan, that what is the link of the 6 potential roles of AFoCO in UNSPF implementation with our current condition? I mean that it will be good. I mean it is very significant or very in line with the 6 potential role of AFoCO in UNSPF implementation. So that's why for us this will be good to increase many indicators, to update many indicators to get the good quality of the emission calculation. I think this is that is our conclusion. Thank you, Dr. Jugan.
Thank you, Rinaldi. I'm sorry to interrupt you in this brutal way. So it's very interesting, and I'm sure that the presentation will be very useful for many people.
Yes.
Sapol, can I give you the floor directly? Sapol is the Forestry Foreign Affairs Officer in the Royal Forest Department in Thailand. And to give, yes, thank you. This slide is already here.
Thank you, Dr. President. First of all, I would like to thank AFoCO and NIFoS for the organizing this side event and invite me to be the panel speaker. For my presentation, the relevant contribution and challenge to each goal of the GFG was previously presented in the previous slide of AFoCO. So for my presentation, I would like to share experience and effort in the developing of the national report and the challenge confronting during the process. Based on my slide, for the Royal Forest Department as a national focal point to formulate the national report, we did brainstorming our forestry sector to get information we needed to develop the national report. To formulate the national report, we have set up the workshop to consolidate information. We invited experts in forestry field to give a recommendation, and finally, we circulate the draft report to other government agencies and non-government organizations to give the comment Of course, it is not a smooth process to acquire all information and data that we need for the report. And this become the challenge. The first challenge is the collaboration among the forestry agency. This is very crucial. As you know, that the data from for the national report usually contain information from many departments. Usually each department works separately in different ways. Different people do different things and take responsibility for what they do without interfering with each other. So good collaboration needs to be strengthened, and that will make it easy to share available data and information. And this will lead to the second challenge. The second challenge is we need to identify and link all the data and information regarding forestry matter to synchronize it together. And we need someone to do this job. We need the effective coordinator with relevant knowledge and responsibility. Not everybody can do this job. The third challenge is the different way on interpretation of information. This should be concerned by enabling the deployment of similar approach of technology to acquire similar set of data and information. For instance, Thailand has experienced the problem that each department interprets the satellite imagery using different techniques, different scale, and cause the problem of private land overlapping with the state land or forest land area. And this problem is suddenly solved by using the one map policy to allow the department to use the same scale of map. And for the view on the ongoing effort of the international organization to integrate assessment methodology to optimize and reduce the burden of national reporting. In this case, I agree and support the ongoing effort of the international organization to help and find the way to integrate the assessment methodology for national report. In Thailand, for example, Royal Forest Department as the national focal point for the formulating voluntary national report, we have coordinated with FAO in Bangkok to formulate the assessment methodology for the Norway Initiative project that supported by the government of Norway. The output and outcome of the project will be used for the voluntary national report, which will exactly reduce the burden for formulating the report. And in this case, AFoCO may create a system that all member countries can use together. AFoCO may be a central agency for data analysis and reflect back to member states and also to UNFF, which each country does not need to analyze data itself. And UNFF will get information of all member countries via AFoCO. So that's all I want to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sapol. This was very concise and clear, and also clear recommendations to AFoCO already. So in principle, we would be now at the end of the presentations of the panel members, and would normally have some time for discussion. We could, of course, use the whole afternoon of the UNFF session, but I think this is not allowed. No, we should wrap up. So I even don't have a lot of time to wrap up. But first of all, thank you to all speakers. It would be important that we get all your presentations, that at least the people who have participated, they can appreciate the material that is around. As we said, if you have any question also to the speakers, Kim in behind, she's ready to, if you have the emails, so to answer and to send the emails to the different panelists if there are any questions. In general, of course, just as a wrap up, as Thomas said, it's very fast. 2 days after publishing, there's already an intensive discussion on the way how this reporting is done. It's an appreciation on this reporting, but also the way how we should handle that in future. Hopefully, very hopefully, this is a first flagship report, and there will be coming up 2 more ones, because we do not have a lot of reporting in the international context that really takes sustainability aspect of forestry in all the 3 dimensions into account, on the environmental, the social, and the economic side. And I think this is one of the most important elements of this reporting to the UN, this new type of reporting. And the qualitative reporting linked with a FRA quantitative reporting, I think that also shows there is a lot of potential to work into this direction. Of course, 52 voluntary national reporting, there were additional 19 national communications, so it makes it 71 countries. They responded to the one or the other way. We have seen that there's a lot of interpretation possible, as AFoCO has shown. We have seen the 4 country cases. Sorry for Indonesia that I had to cut you a little bit short. I do think that the Korean example is a very interesting example and can help other countries to streamline its work in future. But I want to end here and to give the floor for a final word to Ricardo Calderon, the Executive Director of AFoCO, to close the session. Please, Ricardo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Blazer, for the very nice facilitation of our side event. Although it is already morning here in Seoul, thank you for staying with us. Mr. Thomas Jusak, for that very important input, the flagship publication as guide to policymakers, to Mr. Jesse Mahoney, collect once, use many times, the very importance of data collection, to Mr. Ansi Pekarinen of FAO on the authoritative reporting, that FRA is global, authoritative and comprehensive. Of course, Mr. Sapul Burminsuk of Thailand, for the very nice suggestion on the processes that AFoCO would be taking in the future. And of course, we do recognize the very important contribution of Indonesia as far as the global reporting coming from Mr. Rinaldi Imanuddin. So also, I would like to thank our partner, the Dr. Choi Yun Ho and Dr. Kim Rai-hoon of Korea Forest Service, the National Institute of Forest Science, for this very nice partnership as far as this side event, and looking forward to more partnership with you in behalf of AFoCO. So thank you very much, Dr. Blazer. I give you the floor again for the further closing.
Oh, no, I had hoped you had closed the meeting. So thank you very much once more also to you and to Korea to have organized this wonderful side event, and to all participants and the speakers. And it's great to see the whole UNFF family reunited behind a major output, which is also very nice to look at. It's not just a simple document as normally UNFF has produced in the past, and you had just to do photocopy. This one is not just a photocopy, it's a very nicely presented document. So thank you very much for all of you, and good continuation at the UNFF for all of those who are there, and good continuation in your work, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in New York next time around.
You.